So if you found this video, probably looking at getting into ice racing. I know I got a bunch of friends that are looking at doing it, and they kind of asked me, what do you need to know? So I'm gonna just kind of give you a breakdown of how to be competitive. My credentials, I won a giant stud with Ice Speedway, 2009 Kent, Washington. It truly was probably one of the greatest races I've ever had. I love racing on the right ice. Traction's different, bike setup slightly different, but with the crowd and in the ice, everything about it, it's exhilarating, it's a ton of fun. You're gonna love it, and we're gonna try and get you to be competitive here. So most people ask first thing, studying the tires. What do we gotta do to stud the tires? And really, it's a lot simpler than what most people think. Knowing which studs to buy is important. Racing with the indoor series as I have with Ice Speedway, and this time with XIIR, they both require the cold cutter indoor studs. They come in two different lengths. The longer ones will go through your tire. You just put a little bit of slime. The shorter ones should not go through internally into the tire. Speedway that I did and I won, and I imagine their setups are going to be a little different, and the way they run it's going to be a little different, but regardless, the setup on your bike I imagine is going to be the same. Ice is, ice is different, but it's the same. Some places have a little harder ice or softer ice, depending if the water's recycled or fresh, like well water, different types of setups. But regardless, the setup on your tires and stuff is all going to be the same. If we look at this, first thing you want to do with your tires when you get them is plan out your stud pattern. So let's zoom in here. And on your fronts, I personally feel like they're a little less critical as far as how it is, but you want to have a good tread down the middle with a little bit on the sides for that turning bite as your bike turns. You need to have your stud placed in a good solid rubber section of the tire. You can get it towards the edges, but too far to the edge, and it won't hold, it won't stay, it'll tear out. So if you look here, I have a 2 center, 2 wide, 2 center, 2 wide with 1 in the center, and it staggers every other one like that. On these are the older style MX fronts from Hoosiers, and it worked really good for me. The rears, I think, are much more important now. You have to think when you plan your stud pattern for the rear tire, from this point, as that tire spins over one full rotation, you want every inch of where that tire is, you want every stud to contact the ice. So you figure you take like a quarter of your tire, as that rotates, is that moving a flat sheet of ice across there. If you have one section that you miss a stud, it's going to go down to rubber and you're going to get a little less traction. So if here you look, I have 2 rows where I go close together, 2 close together, 2 wide, and then the opposing row is 2 wide and then 2 in the center, but they aren't close together, with 2 rows like that, and it goes back and forth. So 2 close, 2 wide, and so on and so forth, all the way around the tire. So however you stud your tires is going to depend on how well the tires do. Just think about that as it rotates around and it's contacting that ice. You want those studs to be removing ice in a flat sheet all the way across. And just get like a little paint marker, or the silver Sharpies do good, and just do dots as you go across and plan it out before you actually screw these in. So another thing, my tires are 10 years old from that 2009 win that I had, or over 10. It's 2024 right now, so they're pretty old. I'm still going to use them, and I have a feeling they're still going to be very competitive. You want a harder compound if you can get it, so the studs stay in it better. And when you're done, you can remove the studs and still use the tire for dirt or other forms of racing. So So if you look, here's a front tire I have. This is for my 3-wheeler. If they run 3-wheelers at the Tahoe event I'm going to, I will be running this on the front on the 3-wheeler. This was ran by someone else as, for the St. George National, Lake George National in New York. And I can see the old stud pattern. So it's as simple as this. You got a 1/4-inch drive, you got studs, you just know where you're gonna put it. These are easy because I already have previous holes, and we just screw it in like that until the base is just barely touching that rubber. You don't wanna screw it in super tight, but you also don't want it sticking out very much. So we'll go through, we'll do the whole tire like that. Then the most critical thing you're gonna find when you ice race, you're gonna go back to another set of tires here, is indexing your studs. So if you look, all these studs are kind of all over the place, and there's a slot in them. On your rears, you want that slot facing completely sideways. So you get just a regular nut driver, 1/4-inch nut driver, and you just go through and you rotate the studs until they're all that exact same direction. And you're gonna go around the entire tire and do this every night of racing. If you wanna be competitive, this is the key in it, indexing your studs. And honestly, it's being anal about having them correct. If you get them good, you're gonna get a lot of traction. And as the night goes on, you will kind of see they will change. And this gives you a chance to inspect it. Like I can see that stud is pulled out just a little bit. So on the case like that, I'm just gonna give it a couple turns, reseat that stud in there, and it should be good. So, you know, generally it's easy to do. Just sit down, put your bike on a stand, sit down in a chair, you know, put it in neutral, you know, slowly rotate it around and go through, do all 4 tires. I think it took me maybe 45 minutes to an hour to do all the tires. Most of your studs, it's just gonna take a little tweak as you go through. So you just start at a point, you know, kind of mark it, you know, look at the writing on your side, and then just make sure you go all the way around and you get it all done. So it's nothing crazy, but it is very critical in setting up your bike to be able to win. So another thing that is very important about tires, you notice I have all of these laying on the side. You never want your studs to touch any sort of metal, concrete, dirt, anything. That will dull them, and you will not get as much traction. It'll wear out your tires very, very prematurely. So always lay them on the side. Get a set of other tires to roll the bike around. When you leave the event, jack that thing up, switch out those tires, put your dirt tires on, or Hoosiers or flat track, whatever, anything, it doesn't matter. Don't roll the bike around on concrete. When you're in the pits, they'll have plywood laid down, so you don't have to touch the concrete or anything in the pits. The wood's fine, the ice is fine, but other than that, don't let those tires touch nothing else. That's going to be critical in keeping your tires sharp for the longevity. The next thing is a little bit with the bike setup here. So I'm going to be taking a couple bikes. We'll have a little bit, a little bit of backup, maybe let a friend ride one or something. The Banshee over there is the one I won in 2009 on. It's set up a little bit different, but I really want to ride it for a nostalgia factor. We'll see how that goes. But it's not a lot different than flat track. You want the bike a little lower. The front being low on ice isn't nearly as critical. You got to get that rear low so it doesn't tip as you go into the corner. Your sway bar weight, if you know anything about sway bars, I like 20 pounds on your inside rear. So we got 2 bathroom scales here. You get it on level ground. Put the bathroom scales under each tire. Roll the bike back up on them. Push it down, let it zero out, and get it so you have 20 pounds on your inside rear positive with your sway bar weight, and you adjust that. Now, if you don't have a sway bar, if you're not super versed in flat track stuff, you still can be fine. You just have to do that weight with your shock preload. So, you take the shock, you jack it up, crank this down, or if you have stock TRX shocks or any brand really, just crank that down as tight as you can. That's probably going to do you a lot better. It's going to stop that bike from diving as you go into those corners. It's going to allow you to brake better. It's going to allow you to throttle out of the turns better. It's going to do everything better. But the main thing is it's going to allow you to be more competitive. So, and then when it comes to racing, it's a race, right? So with the studs, you're going to have more traction than you normally have on dirt or even some of the clay blue groove surfaces. The ice has more traction. So just be prepared for that when you get ready to go into that first turn and you get on the binders, and it's going to stop, it's going to turn, it's going to respond very well. It's more than most dirt, but it's also different because it's ice, and it's a blast. So honestly, you do those couple things, you get your weight set up a little bit, you get your bike a little lower, you have a decent motor, you have a good reaction time, you get your studs indexed and a good stud pattern on your tires. You know, it's going to be a key to success. And like I said, I think, you know, either one of the two big traveling indoor series, you could win, you know, just set up the way I did. I was from California, never touched ice, never seen ice, never really even been in the snow, and did some traveling and was able to find some success really quick. I had some guys that helped me. Jay Bedwell, he'd raced on the ice a bunch way back in the day, and some other people that told me about the indexing. And I'm just here to put out that information because a lot of people don't talk about that. They kind of keep it, you know, keep it in their little clique. But I would rather see everybody out there racing, be fast and be competitive and put on a good show and have a lot of fun. I don't want to race by myself. I want everybody to come and be competitive. So if I ever see you on the ice, let's have a good race. Let's have some fun.